Morning, students. Today we are going to take the second part of Indigo chapter. Okay, we had read about Indigo movement, the system of Indigo that prevailed in Champaran. So we'll start from here. The sharecropping arrangement was irksome to the peasants, and many signed willingly. Those who resisted engaged lawyers, the landlords hired thugs. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed that they wanted their money back. Okay, so we have already discussed this point that the sharecropping arrangement was very difficult. This was a very problemsome thing for the farmers, and some of them opposed, some of them engaged lawyers, and some of them hired thugs. Thugs are the violent people जिनको thugs कहते हैं, वही thugs है ये. Okay, and now they came to know about the synthetic indigo which was developed in Germany, and now the Britishers did not want that natural indigo, so the peasants were very annoyed and they wanted their money back. At this point, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. So this was the problem. This was the chaos in Champaran when Gandhiji arrived there. He began by trying to get the facts. First, he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. Gandhi answered that he was no outsider and information can be given to him. Next, Gandhi called on the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in which the Champaran district lay. The commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith to leave Tirhut. So he was given an instructions that he should leave Tirhut. Gandhiji did not leave. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. Several lawyers accompanied him. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. A vast multitude means a large number of people. He went to a house and using it as his headquarters, continued his investigations because Gandhiji was a lawyer and he wanted to fight this case very legally. So he continued his investigations. A report came in that a peasant had been maltreated in a nearby village. Gandhi decided to go and see. The next morning he started out on the back of an elephant. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town in his carriage. Gandhi complied. The messenger drove Gandhi home where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. Gandhiji signed a receipt for the notice and wrote on it that he would disobey the order. So this way Gandhiji received a notice that he should leave Champaran because Britishers also knew if Gandhi would be involved in that case, there will be a problem for Britishers also. So they issued an order for Gandhiji to leave Champaran. Okay. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons to appear in the court the next day. Summons, when someone is being called in a court, that is a official, that is a legal process. All night, Gandhi remained awake. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. He sent instructions to the ashram. He wired a full report to the viceroy. Morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants. They did not know Gandhiji's record in South Africa. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. Their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. So this is a very important line. Their spontaneous demonstration in thousands they had come to show their anger around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. So in thousands they had come in opposition to Britishers, and that was a beginning, that was a starting point that they were getting liberated. Liberated means freed from the fear of British. Okay, the officials felt powerless without Gandhiji's cooperation. He helped them regulate the crowd. He was polite and friendly. He was giving them concrete proof that their might, hitherto dreaded with unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians. The government was baffled. Baffled means confused. The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial because a mob had come. Apparently, the authorities wished to consult their superiors. So that created a problem for the Britishers also. Okay. Gandhi protested against the delay. He read a statement pleading guilty. He was involved. He told the court in a conflict of duties. On the one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. On the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service. It's a very important point, students. He was having a conflict of duties. On the one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker because he did not obey the law, the British law. But on the other hand, he wanted to serve the humanitarian and national service. So he wanted to be more. He wanted to be loyal towards the humanitarian and the national service that is above the law, that was above any country's law for which he had come. He disregarded the order to leave, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of your being the voice of conscience. He asked the penalty due. This is a very important question. Why didn't he leave Champaran? Not because he did not leave Champaran, not because he wanted to insult the British law or he did not want to give respect to the British law, but he wanted to give respect, much respect or more respect to the voice of one's, to the higher law of your being, to the voice of your spirit, to the voice of your conscience. He asked the penalty due. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after a 2-hour recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. Gandhi refused. The judge released him without bail. When the court reconvened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kumar Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq and several other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. They conferred with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Why? The senior lawyers replied they had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. Again, a very important question here. When the other lawyers with Rajendra Prasad, they had come to meet Gandhiji, and Gandhi asked them if he would be sent to prison. What would they do? What would the other lawyers do? They sent that if Gandhiji is going to prison, that definitely they will leave the place because there would be nobody to advise. They would go home. What about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Gandhiji demanded. The lawyers withdrew to consult. Rajendra Prasad had recorded the upshot of their consultations. They thought amongst themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants. If they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts but also those who claim to have served these peasants, should go home, it would be shameless desertion. So it would be a very difficult, shameful position for the lawyers. Okay, so they said that if Gandhiji was a stranger for these